This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and we're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. Rachael McCrary is joining us. She's the CEO and founder of Jewel Toned. It's a pleasure having the show with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What's your company do? I saw some of them out there. We're going to bring them in, but what do you guys do?
So Jewel Toned is the first body-positive shapewear company. So oftentimes shapewear can make women feel bad about themselves. So we're changing the psychology around that so that women feel better about themselves when they get ready. It comes in black and bright colors, no nude because it looks like a Band-Aid. You can wear it out if you want because it doesn't really look like underwear.
So how do you compete in a competitive space like that? I know that there's a lot of different people that have gotten in there. We don't need to name any of the brands, but it feels like a space that's kind of difficult to get into. How did you guys do it?
I can imagine it would be difficult to get into it if you hadn't been doing it your whole life. So I'm a fashion designer and I have had my own entrepreneurial endeavors, and I had a mini dress company in high school. Majored in fashion design, have 2 different fashion design degrees, and then I worked in New York in fashion design for 15 years, primarily in the intimate apparel and lingerie space. So I'm considered a lingerie expert by certain people that care about that, just about 5. And had been surveying the market for a while and noticed that when women talked about their undies, they really enjoyed the purchase of a bra and panty, which we make those too, but we're known for our body shapers because when women talk about their body shapers, they sort of apologize for it. Like if they don't wear it, they wear it like a badge of honor, like, oh, I don't need that. And if they do wear it, they apologize for it. They're like, oh, I had to get it for a prom or for a wedding. So I wondered, why is that? We used to view corsets as something beautiful and like an aspirational purchase. And somehow along the way, it's gotten changed into this thing that you need because something's wrong with you. Where if you ask classical fashion designers all over the world, they'll tell you that, most ball gowns require a foundation garment. And that's true today for even our jeans, cocktail dress, even t-shirts.
So you got into this space because of your background. Tell me about that journey. How did you end up going from, getting those degrees and going to New York for 15 years, ultimately to starting your own business?
Yeah.
What was that process?
I always knew that I wanted to be a fashion designer, maybe since I was a tiny little girl.
What about an entrepreneur? Was that always in the books?
According to my parents, yes.
Really? Entrepreneurship? Most parents don't push their kids down entrepreneurship.
I don't think they pushed me down it. I think it was apparent that I wasn't someone that would enjoy having a boss.
Following the rules. You're a rule breaker.
Yes. Yes. I've always been an advocate for self-expression and creating your own rules and not seeing traditional paths as a way of doing something. And they taught me to, that the sky was a limit, that I could do whatever I wanted. And, the safe route wasn't always the route that would make you the happiest.
Because at the end of the day, that's what entrepreneurship is. Like if you stay within the rules, you're never going to create anything disruptive and unique and stuff that people ultimately want. How has that served you, do you feel like, as an entrepreneur?
It's when we get out of our comfort zone that we grow, right?
Yeah.
So when we push through fear and uncomfortable emotions and maybe not knowing the right way, on the other side of that is usually something more fulfilling, something more to be proud of, and something that really, lights you up. And especially when you push through times of, I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. And then not only did I survive, but I thrived. It's the best feeling in the world.
Well, share a story of that then. Instead of let's just staying in, brushing it under the rug, give us an example of when that happened to you.
Oh, man.
There's maybe a dozen or so.
Yes. When I first started Jewel Toned, I started it out of my kitchen, and
not your garage, the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, my I guess the dining room, which is connected to the kitchen, I turned it into an office. But whenever I was looking into different ways to start and fund a company, because I knew I wanted it to be a real company and not just a hobby, I was looking into the ways to do that. And if you look at the statistics of, how many women that are founders that raise money. I heard someone say last night that it was 4%. I read that it was 3.5 in Forbes, but it's something abysmal like that. And then, whenever I found out, the process of that and that it's networking with, finance dudes that all went to Stanford and live in Silicon Valley, and none of which I know. I'm friends with many of them now, but at the time I wasn't. So, a lot of people told me, hey, that's a really tough road, and most people aren't successful with it. And, I heard
you were up for the challenge, though.
Way more negative comments than that I'm sure you can imagine. My place is in the kitchen and things like that. And I was like, well, that's cool because my office is actually basically in the kitchen. Yeah. So we actually, at one point, I did raise venture capital through that process. And then in order to make fun of people who said that we had a funding event called a bake sale. So we baked brownies and then exchanged $25,000 brownies for equity in our company at a valuation that was on the brownies, and we're successful at it, as a way to say, oh, you think we're in the kitchen? Okay.
Yeah. I love that. How'd you come up with that kind of an idea? Because I feel like that's a disruptive, unique way to raise money.
I was inspired by Senator Barbara Mikulski. She was, I think, the first Democratic female senator in the state of Maryland. And in the 80s, whenever she was running her campaign, she, didn't have the money to didn't know how to fund her campaign, didn't have the money herself. So she had a bake sale. Okay. And everyone was making fun of her and said, oh, that's ridiculous, whereas all the housewives came out and, supported her bake sale. And with tiny little, donations, she ended up funding her whole campaign and winning. And then I think she's one of the longest running senators today. I
want to know on your journey so far, have you had anyone that's really impacted you, a friend, a mentor, your parents? Who's been somebody that really helped you get to where you are?
Yeah, I had a mentor for many years. She was my boss when I was a lot younger. She was probably about 15 years older than me. I'm sure I annoyed her at the time. I used to ask a lot of questions. I was probably about 24 when I worked for her. She took me under her wing and taught me a lot and said, you know what, if you want to be a good fashion designer, you need to learn a lot about business, because it's really just running a business. Know what sells and what doesn't sell. Don't do something just because you personally love it. Like, look at your market and see what they're responding to, and then constantly pivot according to that. And I'm very grateful for that experience. I ended up working with her for about 10 years. We became business partners at one point.
Very cool.
She unfortunately passed away from breast cancer about 3.5 years ago now. And before she passed away, we talked a lot, and she just gave me the courage and the knowledge, which I'm so fortunate to have been given of we say it a lot and it's cliche, but it really, really is short, the time we have on the planet. And how do you really want to spend your time, And I knew in my heart that it wasn't working for someone else, and that I had something I wanted to put out into the world. So, she really encouraged me to stop at nothing.
So many people don't have mentors, and they don't understand that you can get them in books and you can get them on online YouTube videos and stuff like that. What are some ways people can get mentors?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in Sheryl Sandberg's book, she talks about this, that you should never ask someone to be your mentor, that it's a relationship that you normally fall into, and that it's also, cyclical, that it's not just, you sucking something out of them, that you're also giving to them, so that it's a give and take. So that the, a symbiotic relationship that's successful should be like that long term. And that you don't go tap Oprah on the shoulder in the airport and ask her to be your mentor, that it's someone closer to you. And that, a lot of information, like you said, you can get from books and things like that. And, there are some super special unicorns out there, but for most entrepreneurs, do get a job in the industry that you want to start your company in first, at least for a couple of years. Perhaps you'll find mentors there and learn a lot of things and correct a lot of mistakes that you're not correcting, on your own business's very valuable time and money.
Yeah.
And maybe there'll be birth from there.
I think that's one of the best pieces of advice, because so many times I feel like entrepreneurs go from a job to creating a business that had no correlation, and they spent all their time in a job that they maybe didn't like to some degree, which is why they want to start a business. And then they start a business having zero experience. You, on the other hand, which I love, and that's why your advice is so important, you worked in an industry so the transition made sense. You had a better understanding of how it all worked, the marketing, you had mentors, like you said. So I love that advice. Work in an industry before you create a business or a self-employed job in that space. What else are 3 things that you feel like beginning entrepreneurs need to be aware of when they embark on the journey of entrepreneurship?
One of them goes back to that. I always tell people that ask me for help, that have an idea, that an idea in and of itself isn't worth anything.
Yeah.
And people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. The execution of the idea is what's worth something.
Only people that aren't entrepreneurs go, I've got the best idea ever. And a real entrepreneur who's actually taken an idea to market goes, an idea is not worth anything. What's the plan? How are we actually going to make it
profitable?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure any given day that someone's had that idea, even ideas that we've had, thousands of people had that same idea that day.
Yeah, people are like, I came up with Uber back in 1990. It's like, yeah, you didn't do anything.
Right. So yeah, it's that. love what you do, you know, that it's going to be such a roller coaster. So if you don't really love it and you won't be able to remind yourself of why you started it in the first place, I don't know that it'll be sustainable, because it's not something quick. It has to be what you're passionate about, because, you know, it's probably a long journey.
I think that's a common entrepreneurship flaw.
Most of the time what happens after the first year is you pivot, not finish. So, yeah, you're
100%.
usually in there for a while.
I pivoted on my second year. So it happens. Some people, unfortunately, they're like, I said this is what I was going to do. I said this is what, and then they stay in that lane for the longest period of time. So pivoting is definitely something important.
Being flexible.
Being flexible. We'll be right back with Rachael McCrary to talk more about what makes her business so successful. This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and connecting a community of entrepreneurs is what we do. So you can join us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at businessrockstars.com. This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and we're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. Rachael McCrary is joining us. She's the CEO and founder of Jewel Toned. Recap first what your company does. Obviously, we're looking at some of your products here.
Yeah, so we make body shapers that are super fun, and lingerie that has no hardware, is really comfortable, and lays flat under anything, and is just fun and comfy. No nude, because it doesn't match everyone, and black and bright colors.
Yeah. And it looks like a Band-Aid, you said, right?
Yes. So our number one product is the Major Mini Dress. It comes in black and 5 other colors. It has a built-in bra, convertible straps, removable cups. You can wear it under a cocktail dress. You can wear it with a t-shirt tied in a knot. You can wear it out by itself if you want. You can do whatever you want with it. It's great underneath a wrap dress or something lace or crocheted. People normally find that once they start using it, they don't know how they lived without it, and it sort of goes with everything. And there's a lot of things in their wardrobe. They were like, oh, I have to get something to wear underneath this or that. This solves all those problems.
You solved that problem.
Yes.
What else? So that's the main. That's the best seller.
Yes.
Okay. What about this one right here?
That's a half slip.
Out all night mini.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really comfortable. So you can place it wherever you want, because there's no waistband and it's completely seamless. So when you take it off, it doesn't leave an indentation in the skin. It has lace on the bottom. So if you're sitting at a bar and you cross your legs and it peeks out, it doesn't look like a bike short. It looks like something that's cute and sexy and part of your outfit. It comes in bright blue and black. We have a bike short with a shadow stripe that goes underneath trousers or a skirt. And then our best fitting panty.
This is like a little box that would be at like Nordstrom or something.
Yes, yes. It's packaged with a hair tie. Actually, all of our products are packaged with a hair tie. They're also completely seamless, super comfortable. When people buy these, they usually come back and buy about 5 more because you don't have to worry about getting a line, but it's super cozy.
I know this started in your kitchen, but it obviously ends up being a lot more than that. You have to deal with manufacturers and raising money and building a team and getting designers. So break that down, how it went from idea in your kitchen to this.
Well, first I actually looked up a bunch of legal things to make sure that you know, the name was legal and the things that I was making weren't patented by someone else, so that we could work on that, which everything was fine there. Okay. And these days you have to make sure that whatever you want to call your company is available on all social media handles. So
and the domain and all those little things. Yes. Most people don't even think about those.
Yes. Then I actually went to China and lived by the factory. So we have a lace collection.
You lived in China?
Yes.
Wow.
So we have a lace collection as well, but the seamless things are made on machines that are a little tough to produce around here. So I found this amazing factory about 10 years ago, and I've known them for a while, and kind of, you know, grew up with their daughters. And they make these amazing seamless products. So they're like, you know, 5th generation, been doing it forever. So I went and lived next to these machines. So I would make prototype and then go and try it on in the bathroom. And I did that like every day. I would do a few different iterations of it for a few months until the products were perfect. And then, you know, once the products were approved, you know, started the run on that. While that was getting done, I designed the packaging in Photoshop and Illustrator, had the hair ties made.
You did it?
Yeah, I did all of it.
Wow.
And then, you know, had these little cardboard things made. You wouldn't be surprised about how many times it takes to make that perfect, especially when you don't speak Cantonese.
Did you sit there one by one, or did they have to sit there one by one?
I cut them and taped them until they did the final die cut.
Straight hustling over here.
Yeah, you can't be a princess to be an entrepreneur. So yeah, did all that, came home, took the prototypes, did a photo shoot, put up a website, started selling stuff on social media.
Did you do the website?
Yep.
Wow. So you're over here cranking out, watching YouTube training videos and reading books.
I was like, why? You need to just go over there. So I was like
Yeah.
Googling like simple HTML stuff.
Wow.
Now
Perfect example.
I don't do all that stuff. There are people that are way better equipped than myself.
But that's what you do when you start. You hustle and you grind and you make no excuses and you figure it out on your own. Because nowadays, the one thing we all have access to, or 99% of the people, is the internet. And the internet has all the educational videos of how to edit this in Photoshop or whatever, how to make my own website. And
yeah.
so I love that you hustled and grinded and you figured it out on your own.
Did all my trademarks on LegalZoom by myself.
LegalZoom. We've had the founders of LegalZoom on our show before.
Yeah, I don't know them. I'm not plugging them.
I'll plug them.
Great.
But that's fantastic that you were able to take all this. What was the evolution? What was the turning point for you that took this from you doing all the work to being able to outsource it to other people and you focus on your strengths?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a village. I can't do everything. And there's a lot of other aspects to the business, like PR and marketing, that I don't really know anything about at all. So, but I knew that I needed proof of concept to raise money. So that's why I did all that stuff by myself. So I could get proof of concept on, virtually no budget. And then once I raised the money, then, hired a few people and started, finding the best fit, because every single thing that needs to be done, is it better to get an agency or a freelancer or an in-house person? So we went through a few different iterations of that until we found, what worked best for us.
What has been the best way that you've been able to market and sell this? Because at the end of the day, everything we've talked about, you took this, you figured out. What do you want to mention?
I want to mention we're actually in Oprah magazine this month for the January issue.
How'd you get that? Because that's kind of like a huge deal. Like all of this will be sold like in 1 second.
Yeah. We've been pretty busy the past few days. It just came out a few days ago. Yeah.
How did you get in there? Because every business wants to be in Oprah magazine.
Banged on the editor's door repeatedly and just asked for a meeting, honestly, for a while, and then she gave me a meeting.
That's awesome. Like literally went and knocked on her door? Like
no.
Or just letters, phone calls, emails, whatever.
And phone calls, yeah. And I wrote a couple of letters, I think, too.
What are some ways you're going to continue the sales? Is it through online sales? Is it through brick and mortar stores?
Yeah, we're about 50-50 now. So we're in brick and mortar stores. We're in a couple of department stores and a bunch of boutiques, and then also our online business. Our online business is usually from press and social media and things like that. And then obviously the retailers are from, their customer base in their respective areas, because some people still want to touch and feel and try something on. We're actually looking into some celebrity partnerships as we speak. I can't talk about it quite yet, but we're pretty far down the road with that.
Awesome.
And talk to some people about some TV stuff. Apparently underwear companies are interesting. Just, having our little army of women around the country getting the word out one at a time is the best way. They're like, hey, I love this. So they tell their friend.
How can you create a tribe and a true brand, something that people feel like they're a part of when they buy it? You guys are doing that. What are some ways that other companies can do that as well?
Just be accessible and available and open. People call and email our office and they're like, how can I talk to the designer or the founder? And I'm like, if I answer the phone, I'm like, what do you want to know? And if someone answers the phone, then they ask me if it's okay, and they'll like make an appointment or tell them what time to call. A couple of times a week, me and the other two executives make sure that we actually log into the social media ourselves, engage with everyone. So on our main social media platforms, we actually talk to the people ourselves. So if somebody makes a comment, whether it's positive or negative, we'll ask them more about it. And people really appreciate that. They really appreciate that we really do care, even if it's negative, like we want to hear it so we can constantly improve. And I think just staying, real with them and, hey, we're women too. And, we're all different shapes and sizes in our office and we have these issues. So, we want to hear what other women have to say and share our, date night horror stories and how we're overcoming that.
If you only had like one piece of advice, if you were to sit down with a bunch of like young girls who wanted to be entrepreneurs, what would the one piece of advice be that you give them?
Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something, and you get out of things what you put into them.
If somebody says they're interested in learning more about you, following you, or maybe even picking up some of your products, where can they do that?
Yeah, so if you just Google Jewel Tone, it's shopjeweltone.com, and then we're Jewel Tone on all major social media, mostly on Instagram and Twitter.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing. I'm excited
so
for what's going to happen with Oprah Magazine. I'm Mark Lack. This is Business Rockstars. Connecting a community of entrepreneurs is what we do, so you can join us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at businessrockstars.com.